Hot tea. Everything got to be hot.
Hot tea.
I got to keep it bone warm.
I'm good, man. How you doing, Rupa?
Thank you.
2 summers ago, I took a trip around the country to work with nonprofits in 50 states in 100 days. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. We went May 15th to August 21st, 2015, from South Carolina to North Carolina. And anyone who knows me since then, or who has read about that trip or followed along, that sort of thing, knows that trips like this aren't easy. A lot of people come up to me and say, "Hey, Chris, how can you do this? How do you manage? How are you handling all this?" And it's hard, man. It's hard. This trip by design is even harder, to do 25 states in 38 days. One of the tricky things about the first trip was day 88 or 89, getting to go back home and see my family, go back, spend a night in Huntington. Now I'm not in Huntington tonight. I'm in Baltimore right now. And today was day 32 of the 2017 Salvation Army Fight for Good tour. And I was in Alexandria, Virginia, and around Washington, D.C. First part of the day, I was able to get a chance to sit down and meet Commissioner David Hudson. He's the national commander of the Salvation Army. And it was awesome to sit down to get a chance to talk to him a little bit about some of the stories that we've experienced together through the course of this adventure so far. And also hear a lot of his thoughts. I got a chance to ask him a number of pretty awesome questions, and I'm going to put that together into a separate video, I think, because we got a lot of stuff from that conversation. But I want to focus tonight on getting a chance to go around with the Great Patrol all around Washington, D.C. And, when I say Washington, D.C., I mean we were in and all around the nation's capital. I mean, we stopped right down the road from the Capitol building. We were right by the Washington Monument. We were driving right along the National Mall. The Great Patrol actually goes out 365 days a year. And Nick, the driver, was joking.
She mentioned the 365 days. I always like to put in there that we work more than the mailman, because the mailman takes days off. We don't take no days.
I mean, these guys are so dedicated and so representative of what the Army is about. I've talked a little bit about how much I enjoy the aspect of the Army going out into the communities. You saw some of it earlier this week in Greenville, and you've seen me on the canteens out in Des Moines, these different communities around the United States. And tonight was just another wonderful, wonderful example of that. Meeting some of the volunteers who come out on a regular basis. And obviously, there's a lot of hours. There's a lot of manpower and woman power needed to make something like the Great Patrol happen. It was really interesting to hear the backstory of the Great Patrol, and I'll share that with you here.
So we're going out tonight on the Great Patrol, and as great as it is, it's actually spelled G-R-A-T-E.
Got it.
And that is because there was a volunteer at our DHQ 30 plus years ago who would walk to the Metro. She'd leave her volunteer gig with us, she'd walk to the Metro, and she noticed that there were a lot of men congregating around the heating grates during the winter because they were experiencing homelessness and it was warm and that's where they were staying. And so she started saying to the DHQ staff, well, if there's extra lunch, can I take it out to them? And so she started doing that, and from there it grew to its own truck, canteen, to drivers, to going out 365 nights a year. So
Wow.
It does an evening meal run, so there are 7 stops that we'll go to each night and serve a meal and pass out hats and gloves or socks or hygiene kits. And then in 2001, we received funding from the city to hire a case manager, a social worker who would go out on the streets and do street outreach with folks that were staying on the streets. So they aren't people that usually go into a shelter and get services that way. For any number of reasons, they're choosing to stay on the streets. And our case manager will go out, drives around during the day. He works about 1 p.m. to about 9 p.m. and he'll go find those folks during the day, help them get set up with, getting their birth certificate or a picture ID, and then start the process to be applying for other services.
You were saying that in 2001 or so, the reason the city gave you the money is that there were some men that literally froze to death.
Yeah, that year it was a very bad winter, and they linked at least 7 people's deaths directly to hypothermia. There were probably more, but those were the 7 that they could confirm that it was due to weather conditions and hypothermia. So the city released new funding to get more outreach workers out on the streets to help people get in and go inside. So we've had an outreach worker for 16 years now. So it took a great patrol program that is a valuable immediate need by providing a dinner each night to going deeper and helping people get to the next level of stability.
And obviously being in our nation's capital, on a trip that's highlighting the very best of what America is about, getting a chance to meet Commissioner Hudson, getting a chance to hang with my friend Dave Jolly from the Salvation Army tonight, kind of reminds me of, nothing will ever replace getting a chance to see your family, and I will next week, and I can't wait. But this kind of reminded me of the deep breath of fresh air that was that stop. And unfortunately, after that last time, the stress kind of mounts a little bit, because when you exhale, remember from Jacksonville, the kiap, right? Like you've got to stay tight, you've got to stay strong, you've got to battle all the way through, you've got to keep fighting. And the 2017 Salvation Army Fight for Good tour is about strength, and it's about emotion, and it's about energy. And I don't want to ever show or feel like I can't bring the energy that you guys have come to expect from me. But man, this week has been tough. What day is it? It's Thursday night. So tomorrow I'll be in Baltimore, and then Saturday in Wilmington, Delaware. I can hardly really remember the drive here tonight up the corridor. It's not the simplest roads in the world to drive through DC. And it's just going to get tougher. So I get it, man. We're fighting. The fight goes on, and I just hope that I can, that I can accurately and appropriately share the stories of just how hard everyone out here is working, because I feel pretty dang tired, guys. And I apologize. I again, have done this before, and I'm doing the best I can to sleep well and stay hydrated and eat well and all those things. But again, I know how hard so many of you guys are working through the red kettle season, early mornings and late nights, and the work that goes into the magic of the Christmas season with the Salvation Army. And I'm just blessed to have a chance to be out here. And I draw my energy from you guys. So thank you. I appreciate every single one of you. And stay tuned, because there's still much more to come on the 2017 Salvation Army Fight for Good tour.